Howdy, and welcome back to another episode of World Bigfoot Radio. I'd like to remind everybody that there's some weird stuff going on over on YouTube right now, and channels might be disappearing. And you might want to come on over to BitChute and Bright Eon and Library, all three of which have my content. Library has everything I've put out on it. BitChute has quite a bit, and I just started posting to Bright Eon. So in case my channel disappears, you might want to go and sub on one of those other places real soon, because you never know what's going to happen. But in the meantime, let's get back to the show, and I'm excited to have a new guest with me tonight, and he's one of these people that had bad experience with Bigfoot, and it's been like my situation where it bothers you for years and years and years, and you don't have anybody you can talk to about it. And recently he's been talking to people and trying to sort out everything. And so with that, I'd like to welcome to the show Michael Patterson.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good, man. I hope you're doing good too.
I say can't complain.
That's always good. So now with your situation, we're going back several decades. What year did that happen in?
1989.
89. Okay. Yeah. So that was quite a while ago. And you're, I know from my personal experience, it doesn't matter how long it is. It's hard to talk about it sometimes, but it does seem like it helps the more you can actually tell your story and get it out to other people. And then of course you start running into people that have also had experiences, and they can share them with you, and, makes you feel like you're not, the only person that was in some brush fire war on another continent that you can't talk about. You know what I mean?
I do.
So let's go back then to good old 89. How old were you when this was going on?
18.
18 years old.
Yes, sir.
And what was happening? How this whole situation happened to happen?
Well, it was me and 6 friends, and they decided that they wanted to drink. And when you're 18, parents aren't real cool drinking. So we just picked a little, deserted place. We'd been a handful of times to go where we thought we'd be safe and wouldn't have to worry about, nobody coming in on us. But I was designated driver, but still, they were underage drinking. So, trying to get out of the eye of the law and everybody.
Yeah.
And,
so in 89, you had to be 21 to drink. So you were still underage technically, even though you could drive a car and own a house and go and fight and die in some foreign war. You still couldn't drink.
Exactly right. You was old enough to die for your country, but you weren't old enough to drink a beer.
So, yeah, I remember that from when I was a kid, because that's when they were switching over the laws, and I got grandfathered in twice. But some of my younger friends were not so fortunate, and it was like, well, let's find a nice deserted gravel pit we could have a big party in. Because we can't.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as the law wasn't going to roll up on you, you felt a little safer anyway.
Exactly. That was the main thing.
Yeah.
So you guys had a nice, where was your cool party spot at?
It was up at the White Oak Mountain game management area here in Virginia. And would you just like me to go ahead and walk everybody into it and what happened? Or
Sure.
Okay. Well, we got us a place picked out up on our game reserve, and went and got some beer, and it was, like I said, it was 6 of us. It was hot. It was the summer in July. I mean, it was just miserable hot. Kind of hot you remember. And but it was clear. I mean, it was a clear night, and we got there probably around 11:30, and everybody got out and they started having a beer or whatever, and we had a fishing trip coming up, and we were discussing tactics and different things we was going to try, and had the radio going, but it wasn't real loud because we didn't want to have to scream over it. And we've been there probably an hour, and just all of a sudden we heard a huge crash. It was like either a tree fell or something fell out of a tree. And immediately after the crash, we started hearing footsteps. And this crash, I mean, we felt it thump in the ground. And I mean, we was probably 50 yards away, but it was a thump. And right after that, we started hearing footsteps, and they were loud. I mean, you could tell whatever it was big. And, and I've been in the woods all my life, and I mean, I know when I hear something on four legs and something on two, and this was definitely bipedal. And
how long had you guys been there by the time this actually happened?
About 30 minutes.
So not very,
give or
very
take.
long.
Not long at all. And immediately after the crash, we started hearing real heavy footsteps, and you could tell it was. I heard everything in the woods on four legs. This was on two, and they started hearing this grunting, growling noise. I couldn't really make that noise if I tried. It was a real deep guttural grunt / growl, and we could hear it starting to move, kind of semicircling us. And I had a 1 million candle power spotlight, plug in a cigarette lighter. And this was a halogen light. This is way before LED. And I kept throwing it up, trying to get an eye on what it was, but the cover was so thick that it was putting the light back in my face. I mean, we couldn't see nothing. But it was continuously making these sounds I'd never heard before. The sounds alone were unnerving, but it gradually made it probably about, I want to say about 100. Well, let me back up. About 150 yards, I guess. It's about how far it made it. But it was doing that sound the whole time. And it was somewhat moving away from us. I think you got the diagram. So I kind of felt a little better about whatever it was. At that point in time, it wasn't coming straight to us. And anyway, this went on it seemed like forever, probably won't but a couple minutes. And man, all of a sudden, this thing, I call it roar / howl. It was loud. Oh my God, it was loud. I'm surprised it didn't bust the windows in the truck. I mean, you could feel it. And right after that, it stepped out into a clearing, and I threw the light on it, and oh my God. Right there, my whole world changed. Everything I ever knew about, it changed. I mean, because this thing was huge. I got some eye shine off of it. It was a greenish yellow eye shine. And the thing, it was sitting there just rocking left to right, left to right, left to right, and which was unnerving in itself. And but now we never did smell anything, and it never did throw anything. But anyway, I hit it with the light, and I mean, for a couple seconds, you can't believe it's what you're looking at. And I'd say about 150 yards.
So still good distance away, but you got that super bright light, so you can see them pretty damn good.
Oh yeah. I mean, that light will light up there at 200. I mean, that was a hell of a light. That was the one I kept throwing down in there, because when the tree crashed, I hate to digress, but the tree crashed probably 50 to 75 yards to my back behind me in the wooded area. And I have been trying to get a light on it the whole time, but I never get one on it. And then after that roar, it stepped out. I caught just a silhouette of it, and then I threw the light on it, and it was just sitting there rocking left, right. And oh man, when everybody seen it, that's when we lost it. I mean, we started fighting for position to get in the truck, and I don't even remember getting in the truck. I honestly don't. I remember just cranking it and flowing the gas. And my buddy, I had everybody that couldn't fit in the cab. Couldn't three of us get in the cab, so everybody else had to go in the back.
How many were there of you total?
It was 7, including myself.
So you had 4 kids in back then.
Yeah. And it right as I was getting it dried, I seen it make it dart up to the road, and that's when that's when it closed the distance. This thing could move. I can't even describe how it was on top of us in just a matter of seconds. And anyway, I'm flowing the gas and spinning gravel, and I look up in the rear view, and all I can see is I see the torso of it, and it's white. Well, I noticed that when I threw the light on it, it was white. And that's a lot of the reason it was hard for me to come forward all these years is because, back then, all I knew about a Bigfoot I was reading in books, and everything said they was brown or black or, I'd never heard of white. And that's what made it real hard for me to come forward for a long time because I was trying, what the hell did we see? I know what I thought it was, but has anybody else seen a white one? And then once the internet came along, then I started saying, oh, okay, then that's normal, But for a good decade, man, a good decade, that was the reason I didn't come forward. But anyway, I was throwing gravel, the truck spinning, and we had a 30-ton mobile home jack in the back of the truck. My buddy who the truck belonged to, he set up mobile homes for a living, and it was a 30-ton bottle jack. It's a jack they used to jack them big mobile homes up and set them on block.
Yeah.
And one of my other buddies, he got close to the back of the truck, but probably about the same time I glanced up at the rear view, and he throwed the jack out. And these bottle jacks weigh a good 25 or 30 pounds. It that much speed, it would have killed any human, in my opinion. It just bounced off this thing. I remember hearing him scream. The jack just bounced off. It bounced. I looked up one time when I saw the torso, and I almost ran out the road. So I didn't look back up because we'd have been down in there with that thing. And but that's we went back the next day, and we found a jack, but it was 100 yards away from where it was thrown out at, which it never made any sense unless it got mad and it threw it. I don't know. It was a good 100 yards away from where he threw it out at, and then we could see, and he had to go up. I first said it was like up to the road. It was about a 30-foot embankment, and I couldn't tell you the degree of bank it is, but it's fairly. And that thing covered that bank, man, in about 3 or 4 steps. It was unbelievable, and you could see where its foot dug into that soft shoulder. You could see every step it took all the way up to the road. And that thing was heavy. It had to be, because it was every bit of, I want to say 8.5 foot, and probably 4 feet wide. About the same dimensions as a sheet of plywood, 8 by 4. If that puts it into perspective. But we had a girl with us, and she used to sneak out. What she did that night to see her boyfriend, which is one of my other friends that was in the truck. And she was with us. And man, it caused her to have. She had a nervous breakdown. She just lost it. She really had. And then we had to take her home in this condition, crying and in a fetal position, and just down mentally, and explain to her parents, who never knew she left the house, what had happened. And you could only imagine the looks we got, because the daughter comes home that upset. You tell her, yeah, they have a Bigfoot, and her daddy just ain't gonna believe in none of that. But that was it. The gospel. That was the honest truth. And I tell you, it changed my life for sure. And I won't say for the better, because I'm just suffering from PTSD from it. I spun into alcohol addiction for several years after that. It took a long time for me to finally come forward, but I feel since I feel a lot better because I was afraid of the stigma, the ridicule, and I've actually been met with open arms pretty much. I mean, everybody's been real inquisitive, but they haven't been, belittling or mean. Maybe one or two here and there that I had no trouble at all ignoring. But for the most part, people have just been real inquisitive.
Well, thankfully, it's gotten more into the pop culture, especially since Finding Bigfoot did 10 years of TV shows. And it went from being this weird thing that nobody talked about to something you could talk about around the water cooler, during a break at work. So I'm sure that helps a lot, and then having some of the channels out there that are doing a lot of eyewitness encounters and stuff really helps the situation, because the more that becomes popular and just regular people stumble on it and start going, holy bleep, look at how many sightings there are. There's got to be something to this, and it becomes easier and easier as there's more public acceptance. I think the last time I checked, statistically, it was up to like 15% of the public are now convinced that Bigfoot's real. That number was way smaller like 20 years ago.
Well, I'll tell you, I did pick up, actually, in the past 48 hours, I picked up some information that the girl I've known about all my life, we went to school together. And I lost touch with her for a long time and got reconnected with her on Facebook. And her parents had bought some land adjoining that White Mountain Game Management area. And her father was up there one day and they was getting ready to get the land ready to build a house, and he seen it. He come flat out and told his wife what he's done, and he said he put the land up for sale right after that. Never stepped foot back up on it again. But she asked me when she found out I had witnessed one. She asked me. She said, "Well, was it white?" And when she said that, my jaw hit the floor. I mean, how did you know that? So, and then she went on to telling me about her daddy, and she had overheard her daddy telling her mama that he had saw some kind of white beast up there. Didn't know what it was, and he sold the land. And then I have another friend that lives about 6 miles from that area, and in 2005, but see, her daddy saw it in 91 or 92. Got another boy I know that lives near I do. He seen had an eye to eye with one in 2005, and he said it was blonde. And by blonde, I guess definitely light, but I don't know how light. And that's just what I know of. I mean, I can only imagine how many have seen it, and I mean, we don't know. We don't know them.
Yeah. Got no way to be in touch with them, and they're not coming forward with their sightings and reporting it to anybody. I know it's the same thing up here. You look at how many are on the database of, sightings in Montana, and then you talk to the local people, and there's like a ton of them. They're not reporting them. So, really no idea how many there could be out of that area. But as far as the white ones go, people do see them. It's not that common, but there are white ones out there running around. And, like I was talking to you off the interview here about white ones previously, sometimes it's just because they're old. They get gray and white like humans do too. If they live that long, that'll turn them white. But some of them are just, it seems like they're just that color. So I couldn't see eye color. All I could see was eye shine to see if it had pink eyes, like it was being for albino. But I couldn't see that unless, if it was albino, they would have lit up red, which they didn't. They lit up like a greenish yellow color. But I didn't get a good enough look to know if it was, albino or not. But I mean, that makes sense because red-headed people, when they get older, their hair turns snow white. So, I mean, you never know. Yeah. Yeah, we've got reports from people who have been in long-term contact with troops of them and stuff and have seen them, age over years and stuff. And they turn gray like we do too. But the eye shine thing now, the color, let me guess, sort of like a lime, but a little bit more toward yellow.
Yeah, well, it seemed like it would twinkle a little green, twinkle a little yellow as it was moving. Every time it was in that rocking position. It was that rocking left to right,
Yeah.
and it seemed like if it would get when it went left, they were one color. When it went right, they were one color. Then when it went left, just alternated them two colors. As it was weaving. Oh, I call it weaving, but rocking.
Right.
But yeah, greenish yellow, a little bit of green, and then a little bit of yellow as it rocked.
Well, in my second experience, I had one sitting in the driveway in the dark waiting for me to walk into him, and I could see his eyes reflecting the porch light, but I couldn't see anything of him until I got too close, then I could see the outline. But it was kind of a lime green, a little bit more toward yellow color. I thought it was somebody wearing sunglasses, and then I realized the lenses were too far apart.
Yeah, yeah. I couldn't see teeth. It didn't show no. I didn't see any teeth. And that don't mean it didn't. Once it made up its mind, it was coming. But I didn't see that. I do remember a real deep set brow ridge, and his head wasn't a cone, but it was tapered at the top, but not the long cone like you see a lot of them. It was shorter.
Yeah, he had not. Well, they don't have as much of a forehead as humans do. Their head kind of slopes back after the eyebrow ridge. But he basically didn't really have a sagittal crest then either.
Not a huge one, no. It tapered, but I've seen some in pictures. It tapered a whole lot more, And I have seen a few pictures that it tapered less. So I mean, kind of right in the middle, I suppose. There's a good image online of one. It was filmed 2010 in Pennsylvania, and it's just about identical to the one I saw. Funka broke it down too. You can see it grimace, see its eyes blink, see its mouth move. I mean, Funka done a real good job with it, breaking it down.
Yeah, we're showing that. We'll be showing that picture right now. And yeah, the old Pennsylvania white, that one's been showing lots of pictures of it and video of it. It's been all over the place. And but the point here being that yes, there are some white Bigfoot reports, especially if you go further north. Of course, that climate favors it, where you've got winter like 8 months of the year. Yeah, if you're going to be white, you're going to blend right in most of the time. Summer's the only time.
Yeah. Well, we've got a lot of trees around here that bark white. They got white bark on them, so I could see where one could use it. It's camo, but yeah, in the wintertime, you stick out like a sore thumb, I imagine.
Yeah, well, think about it. The ones up north that are white during the winter, man, they're happy campers. They're camo all the time. And then the ones that are up there that are black, they're screwed because it's winter. Everything's white, you're black.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And that's most of the year. They have to hunt in those conditions, so they get to deal with not blending in most of the time.
Yeah, I know.
Well, anyway, the other thing that came to mind when you were talking about your escape with all the kids piled in the back there, did any of those 4 kids ever come forward and talk about it?
No. Well, we talked about it amongst ourselves. It's going to sound kind of funny, but for years we called it the two-legged monster. That's exactly what we called it, because we didn't know, and we did it because of the footsteps, and we didn't know that there was such a thing as a white Bigfoot. We had no idea. But after collaborating amongst ourselves, that's the only thing it could be. I mean, anything else it could be.
Right. Well, the other thing, though, is this is 89. You're in Virginia. At that time, there's like virtually no recognition that Bigfoot's anywhere outside the Pacific Northwest.
Exactly.
So there's A, no recognition that they're in your area, and B, it's white on top of all that, too, yet.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
No,
exactly right.
I know exactly how you feel, man, because in 72, and I had my first sighting, there was like zero recognition that Bigfoot lived in Minnesota. And then what I saw wasn't a freaking regular Bigfoot anyway. So, it was like problem on top of problem. Those things aren't even supposed to be here. And that sure as hell didn't look like the Patterson Gimlin film. What the bleep was that thing?
Yeah.
So totally related.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying completely, because the one we saw didn't favor Patty a lot, other than being white and Patty's black. But Patty's face is different. Patty's head structure is different. One thing I do remember about the one that we saw is the forearms were massive. I mean, like Popeye, just massive forearms. It kind of looks a little funny between the forearm and the bicep, I think. Because it's disproportionate, compared to what you normally see on humans.
Yeah.
But it had massive.
Their forearms are disproportionately long anyway, and then if you give it massive muscles, it probably really stands out.
It does. It does. Yes, it does. I couldn't have said that about it myself. It does make it stand out. But really, as fast as that thing was, I really honestly think if it had wanted somebody in the back of that truck, I believe it could have got them. I really do.
Probably could have, but I'm sure that isn't reassuring to the kids that were in the back at the time that was going on. They're probably still having nightmares.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it. I guess I tracked again. You asked me quick. No, we talked about it amongst ourselves and our families, of course. We talked a little bit about it, but I could count on one hand until here recently the times I even talked about it with my wife. I've been married to my wife 20 years.
Yeah.
The times I've even talked about it. And she, that your whole world changes when you see it.
Yeah.
I mean, your whole world changes.
How do you breach a subject like that with your wife, too? You're like, oh, by the way, honey, I never told you about this, but I actually got chased by a monster when I was a kid. It's like, that's going to come across really well.
Yeah, well, knowing her, she'd probably said, oh, that's what's wrong with you, huh?
Yeah, that explains it all, huh?
Yeah, I just...
Not wanting to go out in the woods, not wanting to go out at night, not wanting to go out in the woods at night, not going out in the woods at night without a setup that makes Rambo look like he's going to the county fair.
Yeah, well, I tell you, I don't do woods at night because woods at night, I mean, a mouse could fart. You need a defibrillator, because I'm telling you, I'd lose it.
Now, I'm kind of curious when that sucker was running across the field and you guys obviously turned your back and ran for the truck. How much of him taking off across the field toward you guys did you actually see?
I've seen the initial. He kind of when he went to his, I told you he was doing that rocking left to right.
Right.
All right. Well, when he made his mind, I say it could have been a she. I really don't know. But once it pivoted to the right, I seen it take that left leg and take the step on. As soon as we saw that move, simultaneously, all of us started fighting for position. And like I said, looking back, I don't even remember getting in the truck. I just remember cranking it and floorboarding the gas. All I can remember. And then when I seen it in rear view, I remember that. And then I almost wrecked. So, I mean, I wasn't about to take my eyes off the road no more. But, it was a Toyota four-wheel drive. It been lifted up, big tires and stuff. And they had a little force on it in it. So, by far, it wasn't a powerhouse, just sluggish. It's a little engine sluggish. But, it going fast enough to wreck you. I never looked down. I looked at one time in the rear view, and the rest of the time I was in the windshield. I didn't even look at the speed on, but I was hanging as the best I could.
What do you guesstimate?
Oh, I don't know. It was on a gravel road. I probably got up to easy 45, 50. Easy.
I think I told you this before. I had a couple other guests on that have actually been chased in their vehicle by these critters, and they both said the same thing, that they had to get up over 45 miles an hour. So as soon as they started creeping up above 50, they lost them. But until then, the thing was keeping pace with them easy.
Well, that's a guesstimate because, like I said, I never looked down at the speedometer, but it's sharp curves on that road, and I took every one of them sideways. You know what I'm saying? Vegas ballpark, how fast I was running. So, I mean, yeah.
It could actually be worse. I heard one encounter where there was one chasing a vehicle, and apparently it wasn't going away fast enough, and he was shoving the back end of it.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, that's I don't know. It affected all of us, a certain kind of way differently, I guess. I just got to the point to where I didn't want to tote it around no more. I really didn't. I kept it quiet for so long. That won't working because, all of I went through between the alcohol abuse and then pain, all that mess. I got everything, cleaned myself up, and I had just made up my mind. I'm gonna come forward. I got to get this. I got to get this off my chest. Long time to tote it.
I'm glad you did. It does help. I remember when I went on a couple shows and told my encounters, and it's like really tough at the time that you're telling them, but then afterwards you feel like there's a weight lifted off. And it helps to have other people that you're in contact with that have had similar encounters or, something along those lines that can actually relate to it and go, yeah, been there, happened to me too, blah, 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 and here's how I deal with it if they figured out a way. It's kind of like being in an undeclared war and you've got like shell shock from being in the war and you come back to the country and you can't get any help because nobody believes you're in a war.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, I had no idea that level of fear even existed. That was a primal fear. It's three of us lost control of our bladder that night. That is a fear that you can't explain it. That's a fear you have to actually go through it before you can even have the right respect for it.
Blind terror.
Yeah, I was a whole nother level of fear I never knew existed.
Yep. Yep. Been there, brother. When I saw that thing out in the woods and I was out there by myself with just a sled, I was right there. That was where it was.
Man.
Primal fear, blind terror. I'm going down this hill as fast as I can. If I hit a tree and die, it's preferable to what that thing's going to do if it catches me. Here I go.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, I'd rather hit a tree and go out of here that way than I would be slowly eaten to death.
Yeah, or torn apart and eaten to death, whatever. All sounds worse than being, crashing into a tree.
Yeah, I tell you, you really don't have respect for how big they are until you see one in person. Uh, you step back and say, "Oh, it's 8 foot tall. It's 8 foot tall." But if you're standing in front of that thing, that's a whole nother ball game. I mean, you get to see actually how big these things really are.
Yeah, especially if you're anywhere near them. At a distance, they still look big, but unless you've got something that it's like right near and you can tell for scale how big it is, it just looks like it's a big thing. But when it's right up next to you, it's like a freaking elephant. These things are gigantic.
Yeah, they are. Well, the only way I got my somewhat guess of how tall it was the next day when we went back to get the jack, which I did not want to go. I'm not going to lie to you. I was scared to death. I did not want to go. But I had to drive. Anyway, it was against my better judgment. We'll just leave it at that. We get back up there, and it was a branch hanging off of a little poplar tree right there. And this thing was about a foot below that branch, and that branch was probably about 8.5 to 9 feet. So about a foot. That's why I said about 8 foot, 8.5, somewhere now is about how tall. And it was easily 4 feet wide. I mean, easily.
Now, the scale for the branch thing, that's when he was running, chasing you guys, right?
Oh, no, that's when I threw the light.
Okay, that's when you threw the light on him. Okay, so you got a pretty good guess at his actual height then.
Yeah, I got a good, I did. Actually, and then I've been told, I don't know how true it is, but I've been told that was a smaller one that they got way on up there. But yeah, if I had to guess at it, I would say 8.5 to 9, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I hate to break that news to a lot of people that have had scary experiences with these guys, but in some parts of the country they don't get that gigantic. But in a lot of areas, if you see one that's like 7 or 8 feet tall, that's a juvenile. It's not an adult, and that's why you're seeing them, because adults don't make stupid mistakes.
Yeah. I don't know what part for the course around here is. I've noticed, I've been doing a little armchair research, and I've noticed that Ohio and Kentucky and West Virginia, Virginia has had a lot of reports as of late. A whole lot of them, a lot more than I thought.
Yeah, I know Ohio's got a ton of them. I was just on the phone before we started doing the interview with Jerry Klein out there with Knox County Bigfoot. And there's just, they've got multiple groups trying to cover that state, and they can't keep up with it. There's sightings all the time over there.
Yep, it sure is. And this is just my opinion, but I think they're using the Appalachian Trail and the Seminole Trail. And I'm wondering, because a lot of these sightings are coming from game management areas either close to Seminole or Appalachian, because where I seen the one I saw is almost dead between the Appalachian Trail and the Seminole Trail. And I had often wondered if they migrate, because that would explain a lot of things if they migrate.
Well, if they got an easy travel corridor like that, you can be sure that they're using it. And the Appalachian Trail is well known for missing people. Well known for that. One of my former guests on the show, Taylor, actually hiked it for about 2-3 months one summer by himself. And he ran in it one night. He had his camp pestered by something. He doesn't know what the hell it was. Might have been a dog man or something. But another day he was walking along and he had a young female Squatch follow him for almost like 2 frickin' hours. And he got to see her a few times. She wouldn't get that close to him, but so yeah, they're definitely out there. And that was, again, he took one of these back trails. It's not a main trail. It cuts off the main trail and comes back on in like 7 or 8 miles or something. Oh, fun. I'll take this trail. Don't take those trails.
Yeah. No way. And then you've got the Seminole Trail too, which that's more of a novelty thing now. You know, the Seminoles, that's how I guess, you know, that's how I got his name, but they used it to do their nomad thing to the south. And I've noticed anywhere there's a national forest or game management area near the Appalachian Trail, you see a ton of clusters of sightings. And God only knows how many are seeing it and just not saying nothing.
Well, I'll say one thing, as far as if they migrate or anything, I think it depends on the density of the food sources available in their area as to how far they have to actually go to keep feeding themselves. There's some areas around here where you can find it in the same area year round because there's just plenty of food. They don't need to go anywhere. But as far as moving around, we still get reports of them doing that. And even the natives call them ridge walkers for a reason, because if they had to go from one place to another, that was generally one of the things they do. They wouldn't walk right on top because they'd skylight themselves and you could see them. But they'd follow the tops of, like ridges and mountain chains and stuff like that to get from point A to point B. And the other routes that they like to do, especially at night, is follow rivers around. So if you want to bump into a Bigfoot accidentally, go wander around down by a river at night.
Yeah. Well, I've told a few friends of mine, I'm a member of a few Facebook groups, and they hunt Squatch, and I've told all of them, you want to find Bigfoot, quit looking for him. Just go in a hot spot area and do your normal thing. He'll find you.
Yeah, they'll come find you. Yeah, they know as soon as you're there. I can't tell exactly where they're at, but I got some friends that are doing research in an area in the northern part of the Mississippi River, right next to a big urban area. And you wouldn't expect there to be any friggin' Bigfoot, because this city butts right up to the river. No, they go down in that river valley at night, and they know there's at least 2 troops of them down there. They've seen like 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah. Well, you just taught me something. I think about the waterways, but it makes perfect sense to have to drink. Yep. Even in winter, they got to drink.
And there's stable travel routes too. I mean, over the course of its life, it could follow the same river back and forth a whole pile of times, knowing that the river isn't really changing it's where it's going to. You know what I mean? Unless there's a flood and there's a minor change in the river's course or something, they tend to stay in the same place for a long time. So it makes it an easy marker or reference point for them to follow around. And we notice that a lot up in like northern Wisconsin and stuff too, where there's big areas that are actually farm fields. But still there's Bigfoot out in these areas. And when you start looking at Well, how the hell did he get across all these open farm fields and stuff? Every single time there's a river there. They're following the damn river or the stream or the creek up from the main river into these areas, getting whatever it is they want out of them, and then they follow the creek or stream or whatever back down to the main river again. They do all this stuff at night. So you find them in these areas where you wouldn't expect there to be a Bigfoot. Well, that's how they're getting in there without people seeing them.
I agree with you 100%. Never thought of it that way, but I agree with her 100%. Yeah, they may just be getting off it long enough to hunt and eat and then back on it again. You know, they
And the other thing is, you know, if you're going to hunt and stuff, well, all the animals have to drink too. And they come down to the river to get a drink. You can nab one, you know. So it's like they got their water. They got their, you know, they've got animals that are going to be near the river that they can ambush along their travel route, however far up the river or down the river they're going. And then obviously, since there's water there, there's all kinds of plants growing. If it's during the summer, there's more plant food to eat. Fourth benefit is for the really big ones, you can walk in the river and you don't leave tracks on shore for anybody to find.
That's true. That makes some more sense. I've heard rumors of them taking branches and covering their tracks. I've never seen that. I've seen other people talking about it.
Yeah, I've heard a couple other people talking about that before too, and it seems like they do. They obviously are smart enough to know the whole track thing, and if they want to hide their tracks, yeah, they could do that. You know, if it's nice dry ground, just rip off a pine branch and wave it across the ground a few times, and your tracks are gone.
That's right. And well, you know, Lord, I forgot what I was going to say. Did you have any other questions you needed to know?
Well, one thing
I was going to say.
I was wondering as you were driving away and you're looking at him in the back, how was he running? What was his posture like? Did he have his arms down to his side? Was he moving his arms back and forth? Was he holding them out in front of him?
Well, no. I mean, he didn't run in a funny kind of way. I didn't look but once after I got in the truck, or at least once I could remember. I can't remember if he was, I'm sure there was some movement in the arms. I'm almost positive, but, you know, it's been 30 years, so, and I didn't do no glance. When I glanced up, you know, I seen it, the brake lights, well, the night, you know, the lights had it lit up, had its front lit up. And
nice red light. That probably made him look even more demonic. Jeez.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it didn't do nothing for my confidence.
That wouldn't have done anything for mine either. God.
Yeah, but it was a scary night, man. I wouldn't wish that on nobody.
No, but I do. What I do wish for people is if they have experiences like this, come forward and talk to somebody. Contact a Bigfoot group. Contact one of the shows that does encounters and stuff. You don't have to be on the show. I talk to lots of people that don't come on the show. They just want to share their encounter with somebody. They want to talk to somebody that's had a similar experience or something. And, you know, really, some people have been holding this in for decades, man. It's not helping you, and it's not going to go away. So, talk.
No, yeah. Ain't, because I mean I toted it around for 3 decades, and if anything, it got worse. And once I came forward, I put I wanted to conquer the fear. So I've even got a white Bigfoot as my profile pic sometimes on Facebook, and I look at it all the time because I'm trying to get past that fear. I mean, you can't hurt me now. I'm not scared, which I am scared. I'm scared plumb to death. I actually get bucked in the stomach when I start talking about it, and I can't come. But I'm trying to submerge myself in it as much as possible to try to get over all that. I mean, life goes on, and I got to get on with it, you know. And
I'll tell you what, I had a really good artist, Dave Schlosser, help me and do a pretty good representation of the Type 4 that I saw when I was out sledding as a 10-year-old kid. And it took us about 2 months for him to get the rendition of it pretty close. And the closer he got, he'd send me, well, here's a new one, check it out. And it was bad. The last one he sent, which was the closest and still isn't perfect, I had to actually like go outside and take a 10-minute breather. I started having like almost a heart attack from seeing it. And I knew what to expect, you know. And it took me like over a year of looking at that ugly, you know what, on a daily basis to get to the point where I wasn't freaking out when I saw that face anymore.
Yep. That's exactly right. Because when I see it, even right now, I can see it, and I get butterflies in my stomach. And these are heavy butterflies. I'm just trying to get the feeling across. And anxiety.
Yeah, these are more like those giant African wasps or something. They're not like regular butterflies.
Oh Lord, Lord
Got a whole
knows.
stomach full of giant African wasps.
Yeah, I don't do bees. I almost wrote the car one time because of the wasp. I don't do bees.
But yeah, I know. I totally know what you're saying, man. I totally get it because I'm right there with you. And it was even longer for me before I really talked to anybody about my encounter.
Yeah.
And it just eats away at you. And then, like I said, even if you get a good recreation of it, like I had done, looking at that damn thing every day, it still takes you, a long, long time to get used to it because it
does.
Terrifying. It
does. And like I said, I've just submersed myself in it right now, trying to get past it. I should have came forward years ago, but years ago, YouTube went out, the information went out, and so I was hoping, everybody can understand why I kept it quiet for so long. Because, I was reading every book the library had on Bigfoot, and I didn't see nothing about white ones, or all I saw was brown ones and red ones,
right.
Reddish.
Yeah. No, I totally get it, Michael. Same thing with me. When I saw mine, this was in 1972. You know how much was out on Bigfoot then?
Oh, nothing. Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
Nothing.
Patterson Gimlin film in like 2 books. That was it.
Yeah, well, that changed a lot of people's lives. It's still changing lives.
Yeah. God bless Bob. I met him. He's a fine gentleman. I want nothing but the best for him. And I'm really glad that he finally got to get some positive attention over this whole thing after 30 years of being ragged on for it.
Well, he paid his dues, didn't he?
Yeah, he sure did, and hopefully he can enjoy a few more years of life here on Earth and with people praising him instead of calling him a nutcase,
Well, I'll tell you what, he gets around real good for a man in his age. I'm almost pushing 50, and I swear I believe that man can do more than I can.
Yeah, he's probably in better shape than I am too. But then, I got to say that about Dr. Bertsev, who's almost 80, and he can get around better than me, and I'm almost just pushing 60. He's got 20 years on me, and he's more spry than I am. So there you go. Some of these guys are indestructible.
Yeah, I think Bob's one of them.
Yeah. But yeah, I know what you're saying, man. The other thing is that after you have an experience like that, it's so hard to go back to especially if you enjoy being in the woods or anything like that, to ever go back to being able to enjoy the woods again. And I'll tell you one thing that helps me, and I go out and do expeditions and stuff looking for Bigfoot. I go out and camp solo. One year I spent 176 nights camping in the woods by myself, most of them, looking for Bigfoot. I had somebody else there for about part of September, October, and November. The rest of the time I was out there by myself. But I was right where they were at and stuff. And one thing that helped me counteract the fear was to keep reminding myself that they're not out to get me. I've already been here for a few days. If they were out to get me, they would have got me already. Okay. And if they start, if it starts really preying on your mind, you start getting scared about it, get mad. That's what I do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Damn it, I'm not going to be a victim. I'm not going to lay down and play dead. I'm not going to stay out of the woods. You can't scare me anymore. Screw you guys. I'm staying.
Yep. That's a good idea. I hadn't thought about that, but it's a good idea.
Works for me. Every time I'm about to get really scared, I just get mad and say, "Screw that! I'm not getting scared anymore. I'm pissed off now because you're trying to scare me again. Knock it off."
Yeah, there you go. That's good psychology. I like that.
September, we had a group of them chase 3 mule deer into our camp at night. The mule deer trying to avoid them. You could hear one of them making mouth pops on the other side of the river. And then the deer tried to walk up the embankment and go across the road and came right back down again because they had apparently circled around. We're on the other side of the road already. And what did I do? I got mad. I walked up on the road and yelled at them. Said, "Hey, they got away from you. They're on our camp now. Go somewhere else. Chase some other deer. You lost. Knock it off.
Yeah.
You can ask Michael if you don't believe me. I literally did that. I came walking back down into camp, and that was pretty much it. We didn't hear no more noise from them. The deer stayed there in camp with us the whole rest of the night. And when the sun came up, they finally left. But
Yeah.
you just got to have that attitude, like, no, I'm through playing around. You can't scare me that easy anymore. I'm not putting up with your crap.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try that really because it makes perfect sense. Because
Here's the other thing, Michael.
Hit my finger.
Not to cut in, but let me cut in for a second before you go on. I really want to hear what you say. But I've had other people that have had long-term interaction with these things tell me the same thing, and that they can sense your surface emotions just like any kind of animal can. They can tell if you're scared, They can sense that kind of thing. And they actually respect it if you're not scared. As a matter of fact, it probably makes them nervous because if you're not scared, it makes them think you got some kind of death-dealing weapon somewhere that they're unaware of.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that makes sense. The bang stick.
Yep, they got a boomstick hidden somewhere because he's walking around like he owns a damn place,
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder what the one we run up on that night, I wonder what it was doing. If it was breeding or something that made it go off like that. I mean, just made it aggressive, which I really believe it was a bluff charge, and because he could have got somebody out of the back of the truck. But from what I'm hearing and read up on, that bluff charges don't usually come that close. They usually do it in a wooded area, but
yeah. Well, it varies. I mean, like I said, I've had a couple of guests where they've actually run them out and stayed on the tail of the vehicle until it got going fast enough to outdistance them. So it's not always just a run up on you and then veer off at an angle or stop and back up or anything like that. And here's the other thing. They're used to ambushing animals and stuff, but occasionally one of them will get out of arm's reach and they have to chase it. And just like any other predator, they probably get triggered with a attack reflex, a pursuit reflex by things running away. So at the point where you guys turn and run away, that triggers a pursuit instinct. Oh boy, things running away, chase them. Before he probably even thought about it, he was chasing him. I don't know. Well, what the hell, I'm chasing them, they're running away, I wanted to leave anyway. I'll just keep chasing them.
Yeah.
So that sort of thing is fairly common, where you see that kind of thing going on, where it just seems like they're reacting really heavily. They're keying in on what you're doing and reacting to it. And if you're already falling for the bluff and running, screaming away before they even start running at you hardly, oh, hell yeah, keep running, And I wondered about this too after I heard your whole story. And I think another thing that you notice a lot in reports is they don't like noise. If you're in some area where they're up to something or they just don't want human presence there and you're making a racket, there's a lot of times where you'll get those reports of them coming down and messing with the campsite where people are whooping and hollering and playing loud music and just making too much noise and they just don't like it. Other times it's just your presence there seems to be enough to set them off. But the noise thing seems to trigger it a lot. So it may be that, just you guys being there making noise attracted his attention to start with. And then after, he just kind of went, well, screw it, I'm going to chase him out of here.
That makes sense because, we had the radio going, but not loud. But, we were cackling and laughing, kidding around and joking. And I'm sure got elevated a little more every swallow you took, But, not nothing definite, but it could have been it. It could have triggered it or, I looking back, I thought it jumped out of a tree, but it could have been a tree falling over. But one of the I couldn't see, I couldn't see down in there. I took a guess when I said, jumping out of a tree because that's what it sounded like. But I guess you could push a tree over and get somewhat of the same sound. I guess
that's possible. Another option is that he might have been sitting up in a tree over a game path, waiting for a deer to walk by below him. And heard you guys making a racket and went, well, they ruined my hunting trip. I'm pissed.
You know what? That makes perfect sense, what you just said. That makes perfect sense.
Because they climb, man. They'll sit up above the trail and just wait for something to walk underneath them and grab it. Or behind a big tree if trees are big enough. You know, that's they're ambush predators. They got long arms and they're really fast. They'll try and get within arm's reach of the trail without you being able.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I know it. But you know what? I never thought about that. I'm mesmerized by that now. Can't get it out of my head. He might have been hunting, because if I was starving and I was going to jump down on the den, so these punks pulled up, I'd run them off too.
Yeah, and it almost seems like he started out walking off and just like, screw it, I'll go hunt somewhere else. And then he just got pissed off and decided he was going to chase you guys off instead. Well, I'm going to ruin their night too. They ruined mine.
Yeah, he walked in kind of a semicircle, you know, as it was stepping away. I mean, I don't know, just at this point, I don't even know what it is. I'm hearing the sounds. And I could tell it was getting further away, so they give me a little relief, you know. And but no, he was getting position on us. Is exactly what he was doing. I say he, I'm not sure it was a he, but
probably was.
Yeah. After everything had transpired, I seen why he was moving the way he was moving. It made perfect sense. Because he got us to let our guard down for one.
Yeah.
And
he might have wanted to just get a little bit of distance and get a better look at you guys and see what was actually there. And then he went, it's a bunch of stupid kids making noise. You guys really pissed me off. I'm going to chase your ass out of here.
Yeah, really, yeah, right. It worked too.
Yeah, well, generally when they bluff charge people, it does work. Most people fall for it. They run, you know.
Oh yeah, they got all of us. But yeah, I just can't see myself in out on those things. That takes a pair to do that. Because I always thought, you know, what if you find one, what are you gonna do? But now that I'm starting, you know. But since I came forward and run into a bunch of good people, Bigfoot people, for the most part, are real good people.
Yeah, a lot of us have had the same kind of horrifying experiences you've had, so we kind of tend to stick together. There's like those other guys that give us a hard time, and then there's us that know this is real, and we try to stick together.
Yeah. I've made a bunch of Bigfoot friends as of late since I come out of the war, came forward. I've made friends with a bunch of new people, the Bigfoot people, and I really like them. I really do. That's why I say I should have come out a long time ago.
Yeah, well, you know, the community has changed over the years, too. It's just like the last 5 years that this gigantic amount of Bigfoot information has been available online. Before that, it just wasn't even there, you know, and trying to find local Bigfoot groups and stuff was tough. The internet's really helped this whole thing along a lot, and So I like that, but it's made things a lot easier for people that have had these experiences to actually find others that have had the same thing happen. So they've got somebody they can actually talk to, and more groups are popping up all the time, you know, and it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's a wonderful thing. Let's get everybody and Granny and their cat involved in this, get them all out in the woods, and we'll have so much damn footage they're going to have to break down and give up and admit it's real.
Yeah, that's right. I remember what I was going to say when I told you I forgot. A friend of mine, he's got a thermal, and wow, you have to see the thermal hit image he got. It's been about 2 weeks ago. Man, it blew me away. That's what I'm saying. I believe that this place has got them. I'm positive it does. But I just, like I said, I'm wondering if they migrate or something, you know, because of the food source, like he was talking about. But I'm glad I'm right.
I mean, I'm kind of on the fence with that one because, you know, if there was a lot of that going on, there'd be a lot of conflicts between troops over wanting to use the same area. So I kind of doubt it.
Yeah, that's right. That makes sense. But
hey, if you can get your friend to send that video along, I'd love to include it. I'm sure everybody'd love to see it.
Yeah, I can do that. If I can't, Mary can. I think you know Mary. She helps with a lot of my stuff. I ain't real technical savvy doing, you know. I have to get my daughter to help me with the phone sometimes. That's embarrassing. But
Mary's good people. You know, she's one of those people that got involved in this just from curiosity. She hasn't even had a sighting yet. So she's one of the really good people.
Yes, you told me about that. And then you got people like me that don't want to see it, and they're the ones that sees it.
Yeah, well, me too. I had the first 2 sightings against my will. The second 2 are because I was being dumb and researching them. But the first 2 were I wasn't looking for them.
So you bought the first 2.
Yeah, one of them I saw 3 miles out in the woods, and the other one was on my damn yard. And that's what convinced me that I needed to do Bigfoot research, because obviously I can't avoid them by staying home. It's right here on my yard.
Yeah, I've heard they could follow you home. I don't know how in the world they do it, but I've heard that they could follow you home.
Oh, you better believe it. I hear that all the time. Rich Soul's been on the show like 6, 7 times. And when he started out, he went to an area near his house, and they followed him back to his house. And he quit researching in that area so they would stop hanging around by his place.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Lord,
yeah, he thought 10 miles is a long ways. Not to them.
No. And as fast as they can move, they can cover that ground pretty quick.
That's what I'm saying. You've seen how fast they can run. You know, imagine it. And they have lots of endurance. Imagine if they wanted to run for an hour.
Yeah, really. And they jump pretty good too.
Yep. Yeah, they're also good swimmers and climbers. They can go straight up a cliff just like an ape. Surprise.
Yeah.
Well, all right,
So,
brother. I want to thank you again for coming on the show and going through your whole ordeal again for the benefit of everybody out there. You know, just to let them know the things like this do happen. You know, 7 young people had their lives turned upside down because of this. If somebody comes forward and tells you a Bigfoot story, do not be a douchebag and laugh at them. There's nothing funny about it, and you're being a complete asshole if you laugh at them, so don't do it. But again, thanks for coming on the show, Michael. I really appreciate it, man. All right, man. I appreciate you. You have a good evening. You too, brother. And for everybody else out there, remember to always be kind to everybody. Pay it forward. Don't take any wooden through pence. Remember to don't poke the dog man. Don't punt the puck, would you? And whatever you do, for God's sakes, please do not hug the Wookiee. Goodbye, everybody.